Today, we're going to do active, passive, and range stretching. And the context that we're going to do this in is going to be, of course, yoga. That's the one that I've been favoring lately. We're going to start with a warm up. Believe it or not, we're going to do just kind of a little bit of a flow, a simple flow, just to kind of get the blood going a little bit. It's going to be from the ground mainly. It's going to open up the hips and it's going to get the spine moving a little bit. Then we're going to do our standing practice. Allison, I told you about this. We're going to focus on several poses if I find that the time is working out. And then we'll take our seated practice. And a lot of these poses, most of them are focused on stretching. So before we begin, there's two types of stretching that I think a lot of folks don't even know that they're doing in their yoga practice, because they usually only think of stretching as one thing. The two that I'm referring to in this context are active and passive end range stretching. And the best way to describe this is you see people do it in yoga, they just don't know if they're doing it. If you see somebody with lots of experience, you'll see them, or saw somebody who learned from someone with lots of experience, you'll see them take a standing front bend, and you'll see them go into their front bend about 90% of the way before they bind onto anything, before they take a hold of their ankles or their big toes or any variation of a standing front bend. So basically, they're using their muscular integrity and their alignment to get themselves into position. They explore that end range using their integrity and their breath, yeah, for a couple of breaths, and then they give themselves permission to go into the bound pose. Have you seen that before with people? I think it's a really well-informed way of entering poses. So that first part I talked about is what I call active end range, right? And that's what builds mobility, which, as we mentioned, right, is flexibility and control, yeah, and strength. That creates mobility. The second part develops and focuses flexibility, right? If you do the second part too much, just grab and pull, like most people do in their yoga practices, this is where you develop hypermobility in your practice, because you're not working on developing integrity. Have I lost anyone, or does this make sense? Yeah? Okay, so basically we're using our muscles to support the stretch before we use our arms to force the stretch. Because a lot of people who just do yoga or just focus on vinyasa will focus on pulling themselves into a stretch and then wonder why they have loose shoulders or hypermobility in the shoulders or spine or hips. Whereas someone who focuses more on the grounding and the active end range part and then goes into passive end range has a better balance of strength and flexibility. So we're going to do some poses and we're going to delineate between those two approaches in these given poses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so my kind of recommendation here is, if you find this to be really useful or challenging or new, or if you feel something different in the practice, try to apply this in your practice in all of your poses. Yeah. So we're going to start from the ground. It's a pretty simple flow. We're going to go child's pose. Okay. You could take active or passive. You're going to spend a couple breaths there. Then I'm going to have you try to roll forward. You can shorten your knees a little bit, shorten the distance, and take a step forward between your hands. We're in this low lunge. The purpose with this low lunge is just so you can feel stretch in the hip. When you're in this low lunge for a couple breaths, you're going to twist. You're going to return back, take child's pose, couple breaths, and then switch other side. Foot between the hands, twist. We're going to rinse, wash, repeat with that, maybe, I don't know, I'd say for a few minutes at your own pace. And Allison, this is kind of what I'm talking about. If you need to rest during some of that time because you're just feeling tired from your day, you can do that. It's totally good. And everyone, you can do that. All right, so if you haven't muted yourselves yet, let's start that. I'm not really going to focus too heavily on active, passive, and range for this first series of movements. I'm just going to cue you through it, just to let you get into your body. Awesome, everyone. So we're starting in child's pose. And let's just take a few moments in child's pose to really focus on your breath. Awesome, Allison. Good view there. And when I'm talking about focusing on the breath, this is a principle that I've talked about before. The breath isn't just in the belly, but you're feeling that breath in the side body, the ribs, and the back body. So when you inhale, you feel the ribs expand in all directions. And when you exhale, maybe you start to connect to the pelvic floor muscles and the deep abdominals. Inhale, expand the ribs, release the abdominals. Exhale, connect to the abdominals, allow the ribs to fall in. And repeat this for just a few breaths. So this is foundational. We want to focus on this deep, ever-pervasive breath throughout all of our poses and this flow and any transitions we make in today's class. That's our challenge. Okay. So 1, 2 more breaths, and then I'm going to have you try to roll through your spine and bring your left foot between your hands. Good. You can walk it along, or you can try to do that in one movement. Now, the purpose of being in this low lunge here is we want to feel that stretch in our right front hip, and we want to start to feel our right glute engage. We want to make our spine long from the crown of our head to our tailbone. So just allow yourself to inhale, expand the ribs. Exhale, connect to the core muscles, connect to the glutes, and feel that stretch in the hip. Inhale, release back a little bit, feel the ribs expand. Exhale, connect to that lunge one more time. Spine is long, breath is connected, awareness is turned on. On our next inhale, we're going to engage in this spinal twist. So now here we're going to stack the arms. The left arm is going to come overhead. Maybe the shoulders connect to the back. The chin is tucked, the neck stays long, and your eyes are maybe on the tip of your thumb or in the direction of your hand. Let's breathe in and expand the ribs. Exhale, can you twist a little bit more while lengthening the spine? Inhale, expand. Exhale, twist a little bit more while lengthening the spine. Let's do this for a couple more breaths. See if you can feel that glute connect, and see if you can feel that somewhat intense stretch at the hip flexor. Inhale, expand through the ribs in all directions. Exhale, connect to the twist and lengthen the spine. Inhale to expand, and then exhale to lower the arm next to the left foot. Let's slide our feet back, and then we're going to sit back into that child's pose. I don't know about you, but I notice a big difference between sides there. That right side feels open and feels kind of nice and warm. Okay, from here, let's roll back forward. This time, right foot is going between the hands. The challenge is, can you get that right foot between the hands as smoothly as possible? Ooh. Let's play with that one more time. Try to bring the foot back smoothly. Ooh, that's a little different. We're going to bring it one more time. Ooh, between the hands. And now we're in that low lunge. You know, tenting the fingers is fine. It helps keep the wrists a little bit more straight, and it actually lifts the spine a bit more. Keep the spine long, left glute engages, hip stretches. Breathe into that. So right as you're breathing, maybe you feel the shirt tightening on your back a little bit. As you're exhaling, I'm connecting to my intrinsic core via our cat class. I'm connecting to the glutes and just embracing that stretch at the front hip. One more breath. Inhale, right arm up. Can you come to a stack? Couple questions, couple checklists. Are you listing to one side more than the other on your mat, or do you feel like you're staying somewhat square, shoulders and hips? Chin tucked, neck long. Think about the spine kind of twisting on the length, right? It's twisting on its own axis. So it's not curving. It's working on generating length and twist at the same time. Inhale to expand the ribs outward. Exhale to connect to the core, the twist, and the lengthening of the spine. So there's this inner oscillation in the body. Couple more breaths, one more breath, as deep as you can. You all look really good here. Okay, now inhale, exhale, lower the arm. Good, inhale, exhale, try to slide the foot back smoothly. Sit back in the child's pose. Beautiful. One or two breaths here. Okay, let's take, I'm gonna move through this a little faster. We're gonna tuck the feet. We're gonna press the balls of the feet into the ground, press the palms into the ground, and find a downward facing dog. Same idea though, right? This is just basically kind of an extended child's pose. Can you reach your heels into the ground, kneecaps on the legs? So we're horsing our legs. As your heels are reaching to the ground, the tailbone is reaching up toward the ceiling. Conversely, the crown of the head is reaching away from the direction that the tailbone's reaching in, while the chin is tucking. And get this, the shoulder blades are moving away from the crown of the head, creating length in the neck. So it's all these opposite directions. It's this really brilliant kind of opposing reach through the limbs and spine. Let's take a couple of breaths just to focus on the ribs expanding in all directions on the inhale. And then focus on connection to length and the core muscles on the exhale. So look, even though you look perfectly still, there is this really amazing movement that's happening in your awareness and in the inner space of your body. If you're really connecting to the practice, arms are horsed, legs are horsed, spine is horsed. The core muscles are in cat. Pelvic floor is lifted. Abdominals are wrapping around the waist. Okay, so from downward facing dog, let's prepare ourselves. Look between the hands and let's bring the left foot between the hands. Good. Now our knee is not on our mat. We are in this Anjaneyasana. Fingers are tented. So before I was down here, Now I've got my right leg, my back leg, fully engaged straight. I'm reaching through my heel. I'm really working on spiraling my hips even. If you're looking for a little kind of additional action, you could think about drawing the feet toward one another without actually moving them on the mat. Now, let's go into our twist. Stack the arms, left arm over right arm, shoulders away from ears. Can you pull your ribs in a little bit if they're flaring on you? Because then you're dumping the twist into thoracic spine. Arms are in horse. Right leg is in horse. That means the kneecaps on the leg. Ribs are in. Inhale to expand the ribs in all directions. Exhale to lengthen the spine and deepen the twist a little bit. Even if we're talking about deepening the twist in like 30 seconds of an inch. It's subtle action, but it's this constant awareness of where your position is. One more breath, inhale, expand through everything. Exhale, bring left arm down. Step back into downward facing dog. Again, we've got heels reaching into the ground. Tailbone sacrum reaching toward the ceiling, crown of the head reaching toward the ground, shoulder blades reaching toward tailbone sacrum. Inhale to expand outwardly, exhale to connect to your cat. That's pelvic floor and abdominals. We all know and love. One more breath. Preparation breath. Right foot goes between the hands as smoothly as you can. Bang. Core control here. First thing I always think about connecting to when I'm in lunge is my back leg. It's called the work leg. So I'm horsing my leg, my kneecaps on my leg. And when that happens, my glute connects. And when that happens, it makes it easier for my core to connect to this position. I feel like I have real stability. My hips are even, and my shoulders are in horse. Spine is in horse. That means it's long. And then here I am inhaling, and I'm stacking right arm over left. There's a lot of sub-actions happening, right? We've got that breath, posterior lateral breath. We've got intrinsic core connection happening opposite to inhale. We have the elongation of the limbs. Hey, can everyone take a look at their wrists and see if they're bending their hand back? Can you, instead of doing this, think about a ruler from your fingertips to your elbow? That will turn on the musculature of the arm a little bit more and help you irradiate into that pose. Okay, one more breath. Inhaling to think about making everything wider. Exhaling to think about making everything longer. Inhale, exhale, lower the arm. Inhale, exhale, try to slide that right foot back as smoothly as you can without disturbing any other part of the body, downward facing dog, and we're gonna come out of it. After a couple breaths, of course. Let's think about where our gaze is. Is it between the feet? But here's something I want to think about. If your shoulders aren't too tight, the idea is you're in a hinge. So you want your ears to be aligned with your upper arm bones. I know a lot of people say head down, but that's reinforcing a pattern that we want to avoid in regular life. Let's think about making the whole spine long. Okay, good. Let's lower the knees down to the ground. Take a child's pose for just a couple of breaths. Can you continue that posterior lateral breath that we've been just connecting to since the beginning of the class? And who's this pup? Hello, puppy. We got some dog yoga going on here. Adorable. Okay, so we're gonna go into our standing poses. If at any time anyone you feel like you just need to rest and go back to simple awareness, you can always do that. This is your time. How do I want to do this here? I think, yeah, let's enter a standing forward bend first, right? And the way we're going to do that is we're going to enter it in sections. So when we're ready, let's come to standing. And if you have a strap or a belt, let's grab that. We've touched on this a little bit before. I'm just lowering my vocal volume a little bit because one of my notes I've given myself is you don't need to yell like you're in a classroom full of people. So, all right. Also, if you have a block, we're going to use actually 2 blocks for this. One block is going to go at the back of your mat. The other block, you're going to be so surprised where I'm going to tell you to place it. So we're going to do mountain pose, and then we're going to carry that mountain pose into various angles. So we're going to do mountain pose, then we're going to do hinge, which is just mountain pose bent at the waist, right? You've heard me say that before. And then we're going to move from hinge into a standing front bend. And this is going to be our first real flirt with an active end range stretch. So that block that's at the back of your mat, when you're in your front bend, the only thing you're using that block for is visualization. Okay? And you'll know exactly what I mean when you're in the front bend and I'm cueing you. So let's just establish our active stance pattern or mountain pose at the front of our mat. We'll set up our props. I'm picky. I fold my strap. I'm going to bring it behind me. And when I do that, I'm setting myself up for a strap-assisted mountain pose. My block is between my thighs. And so please note that my hands are about a fist distance from my hips. Also, the strap isn't touching my backside. It's just a couple inches off of my backside, and my wrists aren't bent back. They're kind of engaged at the belly of the forearm, the underside of the forearm. Okay, so mountain pose. Let's get the midlines of the feet and legs parallel. Something I've said a bunch of times now. Now we're going to draw the kneecaps onto the legs. We're going to horse the legs. So we're hugging the bones of the legs with the muscles of the legs. We're going to engage on that block with our inner thighs as if we're trying to pull it up to our pelvis. This will help us better lift our pelvic floor and connect to the abdominals. Inhale through the ribs. Exhale to connect to your your intrinsic core muscles. Now, let's try to pull on the strap as if it was a resistance band. When you do that, you're going to feel your shoulders engage, draw down your back. Chin tucks, neck lengthens. So we have a fully committed mountain pose. You should feel the work in your legs. You should feel that connection to core. And you should definitely feel that connection in the shoulder girdle, the chest and the back muscles from pulling on the strap. Inhale to expand through the ribs. Exhale to connect to intrinsic musculature of the core. Try to make your limbs and your spine longer on the inhale here. So the ribs expand, but you're also reaching. Exhale, connect to the core. This feels like work to me, and I'm not moving. Now we're just going to not change the shape of our body except for at the waist. We're going to start to come forward into a hinge. It doesn't have to be a deep hinge. It just has to be a hinge where your limbs are in horse still, your spine is in horse, and you're not rounding. Everything is connected. Breathe in that for 3 to 4 breaths. I'm just gonna keep an eye on everyone. Remember, your hands are about a fist distance from your hips. Allison, you can widen your hands a little more, even more. Give your hands, that's good. That'll help you just connect a little bit more to the shoulder girdle. Good. Triceps, you feel engaged on the back of the arms. Legs, you feel engaged. Now, this is still mountain pose. The only thing that's changed is you've bent at the hips. And now get this, if you can grok this a little bit, we're gonna go into front bend now. On paper, aspirationally, a front bend is just mountain pose, completely bent at the hips. People cheat a lot or give themselves props. So what I want you to start to do is try to go into your deepest hinge. There is a point where you're going to have to give yourself a little permission. It might be when you're trying to get the strap past your backside. See if you could get down far enough, if you're feeling tight, to where you can see the block at the back of your mat. Now you have 2 goals here. On the inhale, your goal is to expand the ribs, but try to bring back mountain pose in your limbs and spine in this deep front bend. On the exhale, I want you to reach the strap to the block behind you. So let me show you here, just so you can see. So before you get into it, I'm gonna do it quick. So I'm in my hinge. I'm gonna start going into my front bend. See how the strap is going down my backside? Even past the backs of my knees. Now, from my view, I'm aiming that strap toward the block. I'm inhaling. I'm trying to lengthen my spine, my arms, and my legs. That's going to kind of take me out of it a little bit. And then when I exhale, I'm going to try to go back down and stick to the rules of my mountain pose. There's going to be a little cheating. Then when I inhale, I'm going to try to straighten everything out. And then when I exhale, I'm going to try to go a little bit further, reaching the strap toward the block. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense and you have a question, you can unmute at any time, okay? So make sure you're all the way at the front of your mat if you have the space, because it'll give you something to reach toward. Terry, you'll be able to kind of reach toward that block. The goal isn't to reach the block, actually. The goal is to use your core muscles to get yourself as far forward into a front bend as possible without grabbing your ankles or anything. And when you're trying to think of what's my alignment supposed to be, it's the same alignment as mountain pose. It's just disorienting because your head's in a different position. Terry, move that strap down more, even like toward the back of your calves, as if you're actually trying to reach that block. Yeah, there you go. That'll take you further down. That's it, yes. So you're trying to reach that strap to the block. Inhale and try to micro lengthen everything. Exhale. Reach a little further, even if you break the rules. Inhale, micro lengthen everything. Exhale, reach a little further. Good. Let's do this for 2 more breaths. It should feel like work. Can you bring the weight of your body forward onto the fronts of your feet a little bit more instead of all on the heels? Are your wrists straight? Is your chin tucked and neck long? So this is mobility. You're controlling yourself in this end range position. So now, permission to release the strap and take a hold of the back of your legs or the ankles or even the big toes if that's what you're used to. Now, you can use your arms to invite yourself deeper into this front bend. But now you're empowered with something different. Now you can also turn active end range on. So I can pull myself all the way into this front bend. And then even though I'm using my arms, I can also use my core and integrity to create a little bit more length and connection in the inner space of my body. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to connect, just for 1 more breath. Inhale to hinge position. When you get to a hinge position, you're just going to bring your arms, if you had x-ray vision, along the length of your spine. So it's right next to your spine. From here, if you still have the block between your thighs, we're squeezing that block. And just from squeezing that block, you might feel that that makes your spine lift a little bit. Squeeze the block and come into mountain pose. Shake it all off. Did that make sense? So active end range, we're using our muscles to go into that position. It's a little frustrating, right? Because you can't go as deep into the pose as you typically do, right? But the more that you bring in active end range work into your practice, the deeper you'll be able to get into your poses quicker and safer. Again, because you're using muscular integrity to support you in the movement and in the actions of the body. So it's really, really helpful. I want to do a mountain pose twist. Okay? This is going to help us twist using active end range. The block is going to stay between the thighs. And so I'm going to demonstrate and then we'll do it together. The one thing I want you to think about is if you had lights on each of your hip bones, you want to do your best to make sure that those lights don't turn back, right? They stay even horizontally, right? We're going to hold on to a block with our hands. And all I'm going to have you do is keeping your hips stable, right? Keeping your hips stable. You're going to inhale to horse the legs and lengthen the spine. You're going to exhale to use the abdominals to engage in a twist, let's say to the left. Because we're in an active end range twist, you're not going to be able to get as far as you use your arms. Inhale, lengthen here. Reconnect to horse in the arms and the legs. Exhale, try to twist a little bit more. Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah? Let's boogie. Active end range twist, standing in mountain pose. Let's just get the midlines of the feet and legs parallel if they're not. The block is between the thighs to help keep it honest, right? But it also helps you use these deep muscles better. We're holding onto the block in front of us. You're squeezing on the block with your fingers while you're trying to actually pull on the block as if you're trying to stretch taffy. Inhale, elongate the spine. Exhale, wrap the abdominals around the left ribs to generate the beginning twist. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, try to twist an iota. Rinse, wash, repeat that action. There's something I'm going to point out to you while you're doing this twist. When you're twisting to the left, which you are, note that your shoulder girdle is spiraling to the left, ideally as evenly as possible. I want you to think about, while you're in this left twist, using your abdominal muscles to counter twist the left hip forward. The left shoulder is moving back. See if you can get the left hip to move forward. That will deepen your twist, maybe just a little bit more if you can find that connection. If you're having trouble finding it, horse your legs, engage your legs strong. That might help you. Inhale, elongating the limbs in the spine. Exhale, deepening the twist. How? Our cat, our intrinsic core. 2 more breaths here. It's all breath driven. Are you still pulling on the block? Maybe not, but these are all things that you can turn on, right? Inhale, exhale to center. Yeah. What happened to your hips? Did they change at all when you did that? So when I give you all these cues, I don't expect you to have them all, right? But these are interesting little dials that you could turn on and off. You know, if you can keep them all, then excellent. But if you're going, oh, I'm not doing that, also excellent, we're learning. All right, let's get to the other side. We're gonna hold on to that block. Let's turn everything on. So we're horsing our legs, we're horsing our arms. We're even finding that intrinsic core connection. We're going to the right this time if you're following me. Yeah, so already this feels like work, especially if you're pulling on the block. Triceps engaged, shoulder girdle engaged. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, let's start to wrap the abdominals around the right waist. And so really the sternum is just turning with the spine. And so is the vision, so is your face. As you start to settle into this active end range twist and all that breath connection, inhale, elongate, limbs and spine. Exhale, the shoulder girdle's twisting to the right. Maybe your right hip, you can get a little counter twist to the left or forward. The other way of saying that is your right shoulder is going back. Can your right hip go forward? And so to anyone watching this video, it would look all static. But again, there's a lot of movement happening in the body. Staying in this twist for as long as you can. We have about 2 more breaths, or resting, shaking off is always a good idea. Inhale, elongate one more time. Check in. Can you straighten the arms a little bit more? Can you draw the shoulders down the back? Did that change things a little bit? Inhale, exhale to center. Good, release the block, shake it all off. Okay, unblock yourselves, shake it all off, and just see if things feel a little bit longer or if things feel a little bit connected. I find that this work actually really makes me feel longer, surprisingly, you know. Yeah, absolutely, because you're connecting to that inner elongation, that isometric. Okay, so pyramid pose. This is a great pose. I don't think we've really touched on this that much. But what this is basically what we just did, but split feet. Think of it that way. So we're gonna place our blocks. Let's place, our blocks at the front of the mat. I want you to imagine that you have a block at the back of your mat, just like we did the last time. I think we can all do that now, right? So we're standing in between our blocks in mountain pose. Let's do away with the strap even for this one. Now, I'm going to cue this in a bit of a narrow pyramid pose. If you need to balance better, you can widen your feet on the mat. Let's bring our hands to our hips here. We're going to take a big step back, maybe 3.5 feet. I'm going wider than maybe even traditional. Let's bring our hands to our sides. So what we've done is we've split our feet pretty widely. My back foot is in warrior foot. So the feet are turned out to about the 2 o'clock position. My left foot is forward, and it's as if it's in mountain pose. So there's a little bit of internal rotation. Now what I'd like you to do is draw the feet toward each other without actually moving them on the mat. And what that should do is that should get your hips a little bit more even. Give me a thumbs up if you notice that. So you're isometrically pulling the feet toward each other. Your glutes and your pelvic girdle is going to engage. Engage your core, and let's just put the upper body in mountain pose. If your ribs are flaring, can you draw them in? Good. So we're in this long pyramid. A couple breaths here. Feel all that connection in the musculature, and then we're going to start to hinge forward. Here's what's going to happen for a lot of folks. If your left foot is forward and you start to hinge, your right hip's going to want to come back. So you really want to keep working on keeping the hips square to the shoulders. And just go into that hinge where you can stay in alignment, but you're also starting to feel that stretch in the hip, maybe the ankle. One more breath, inhaling to elongate the limbs and spine. Exhaling maybe to draw the feet toward each other a little bit. And now we'll allow ourselves to come forward until our imaginary block is in our view. When you come forward, you can take a break and put your hands on the ground just to make sure that you're balanced, or put your hands on your blocks. Yeah? But the whole idea is, from this position now, pyramid pose is again a split foot front bend. So we're trying to keep mountain pose as much as we can and actively reach toward the back of our mat from here. I've put the blocks at the front of the mat for balance. So you can use them and reach toward the back of your mat with one free hand, or you can not use your blocks. Take breaks as you need, but I'm going to keep queuing for this side for a few more breaths. Active end range stretch here. So inhale to elongate the limbs and spine. Exhale to try to bring yourself a little deeper into this pose, reaching your fingertips right toward the back edge of the mat. So Terry, you could lower your hands a little more even. Inhale, elongate. Exhale and reach the top of your head toward your ankle and your fingers toward the back of your mat. One more breath. Inhale, elongate the limbs and spine. Exhale, deepen this pyramid position. Good. Inhale, place your hands on the blocks. Press your hands into the blocks and press yourself up to standing position. Yeah, just to come out of it briefly. It's work. So I just wanted to give you a moment to shake that one off because there's a lot more going on there. So this is where you really feel that tightness in the hips, right? Really start to get a hold of you. So this is where those mountain pose principles really apply. Now the passive end range version is usually putting your hands on your ankle and pulling yourself into your leg. Yeah? So I want to take a moment to give you an opportunity to do that. Yeah? Allison, how are the hips? Everything okay? Good. Oh yeah. So all right, let's just move into the footprint here. Front of the mat, real quick mountain pose. Right foot steps back. Horse the legs. Hips are even. Good. We're keeping mountain pose upper body and just hinging forward. We're going to go passive end range. So what that means is you can take the leg or ankle or place hands on blocks and just let the weight of your upper body bring yourself down. So this is much more mild than what I just did, which demonstrating is actively reaching yourself down. Crown of the head toward the ankle, hands toward the back of the mat. Here, we're letting nature take its course passively. But even in this passive end range pyramid pose, we're giving ourselves a little permission to get active within it. So maybe when you inhale, you just reinforce a little bit of that good mountain pose alignment, right? Lengthening the spine, drawing the shoulders down the back, seeing if you could get the hips more even, and then exhaling and surrendering the weight of your head into this pose a little more. On your next inhale, hands on the blocks, just bring a bit more of a hinge in the spine. So lift the head. You could bend the knees a little bit and come on out of this into a split foot mountain pose. Hands at your sides. And then just to kind of cue up the balance with that split foot mountain pose, let's take one step back. 1, 2, 3, bang. Yeah. Okay, other side, ready? This time, right foot is coming forward. Oh, actually, we're coming to the front of our mat. Cueing mountain pose. So the midlines of the feet and legs are parallel. We're engaging the legs, connecting the core, shoulders down the back. Arms are also strong and straight. Fingers are spread. Spine is long. We're going to take a big step back this time with our left foot. I have my feet more or less on a single rail. If you need to train track your feet a little bit more for some stability, that's great as an option. We're just bringing that mountain pose back into the upper body and even in the legs, meaning we're horsing our legs strong and straight. Inhale. Exhale, let's start to hinge forward, trying to keep our hips as even as possible, trying to keep the ribs in and the spine long. Stop at that point where you're feeling that stretch resistance along the back of the leg. We're not breaking alignment yet from our mountain pose alignment. While we're here, we're inhaling and elongating the limbs internally and the spine internally. We're exhaling, connecting the core, and maybe drawing the feet toward one another isometrically. Okay, preparation, inhale. Exhale. You might have to break some rules to bring yourself a little bit more forward. That's okay. We are going active end range, so we're not quite using the blocks with both hands yet. If you need to use the block with one hand to reach toward the back of the mat with the other, that's fine. But again, ideally, we're looking to reach the top of our head toward our front ankle and our fingertips toward the back edge of the mat. When we inhale, we're trying to find length in the limbs and spine, evenness in the hips. When we exhale, we're trying to go a little deeper and connect to the core muscles. We're going to do that for a few breaths. Inhale, elongate everything. It's going to make you come out of it a tiny bit. Exhale, go a little bit deeper. Connect to the core. Active end range pyramid. One more breath here. Now, from this active end range pyramid, let's try to come out of it, keeping our mountain pose integrity. So legs straight, keep the feet working toward one another. Good. Slowly come into a hinge, which is mountain pose in the spine, arms, and in the head. And then drawing the feet toward one another, use that energy in the inner thighs to lift the spine like a crane arm, mountain pose upper body, split feet. This time we're going to step forward on 3. 1, 2, 3, bang, shake it off. That feels good. Hips and lower legs. Okay, so we're going to just take that passively real quick. Stepping back, left leg, yeah, and just take that hinge, hands on the blocks, if that feels good to you. Instead of using our musculature to drive deeper, we're just letting gravity do the work on the exhale. And then what does the inhale do? It just helps us connect to alignment. So when you inhale, you bring the ribs out in all directions, align the body. Exhale, release the head on this one. Yeah, really think about melting the back of neck muscles, these occipital muscles, suboccipital muscles at the base of the skull. Okay. Inhale, lengthen the spine into a hinge. Hands can stay on the blocks. Good. Now, bring your arms to the sides. Draw your feet together isometrically. Lift your spine like a crane arm, mountain pose upper body. So that means we're upright, boom. And then on 3, I'm gonna have you all step back. 1, 2, 3, boom, mountain pose. Yes, beautiful. We're getting the hang of that now. It doesn't take that long. So the more that you can go from that step back to mountain pose, you'll go right into a stable position. Yeah, ground yourself into the ground. That's it, Terry. Awesome. Everyone, that was great. But I saw Terry go, ground himself. That's helpful. It's a good tactic. All right, so there's so much I want to do, but I also want to get some seated work in. I think I want to do some active end range, extended wide angle. Okay, so that just means that we're not using our arms for this one. I'll demonstrate, then I'll cue. Typically, we have some version of this for extended wide angle. Here, we'll bring our hands behind our back. And so we're working on the inhale to elongate everything and reconnect to horse in the shoulders. And then on the exhale, I want you to work on wrapping the abdominals around your waist and twisting, spiraling your sternum up toward the ceiling, right? So what we're doing is we're exploiting the twisting component in an extended side angle without using our elbow on our knee to kind of twist ourselves deeper. We're only using our musculature. Does that make sense? Yes, okay. So the way I want to do that is come to the front of the mat. Let's cue through it now. Mountain pose is always a great place. Why? It's a reminder of what's our alignment in these positions. Let's take a step back to a runner's lunge. That means the heel is up. Good. Mountain pose upper body, horseback leg. The heel is going to spiral down to the ground. If you could do a good runner's lunge, you've got a good leg position for your extended side angle. I'm turning here. Now, arms are going to come up and at your sacrum. I'm stacking my hands over each other flat. Yeah, good. So I'm going to try to imagine that my hip bones and shoulders are pretty square to each other. So what am I doing here? I'm engaging my right leg straight as I can, and I'm hinging sideways off of it. I'm not twisting yet. You're going to feel where there's a bit of a limit. Don't force it. Don't try to go too far where your spine is bending. Stay straight. Good. Imagine that you're wedged in between two walls, right? One in front of you and one behind you. Inhale and just work on elongating the spine, crown of the head, away. Foot, the edge of your right foot, away from the crown of the head. Exhale, you're going to wrap your right shoulder back using your right abdominals. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, wrap. Feel the right ribs open. 2, 3 more breaths. Chin is tucked, neck is long. But even your gaze is twisting. Your eyes are turning toward the ceiling. The whole spine is twisting like a barber's pole. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, twist one more time. And then from there, you're already queued up. Inhale, place your left elbow on top of your left knee. You set yourself up for this extended side angle position. The right arm is going to come up right next to your ear. So let's do the checklist. Right leg is in horse. Right arm is in horse, and right shoulder, left shoulder in horse. Spine is in horse. Boy, all of a sudden, extended side angle just feels like a breeze. But what happens if you applied that active end range extended side angle? That spiraling of the spine and that activity and irradiation in the arms and legs. Inhaling to expand the ribs and lengthen everything. Exhaling to connect to the core muscles and deepen the twist. So one approach complements the other. One more breath. Oh, I gotta switch sides here. Good. Exhale, turn your right shoulder down toward the ground. Place both hands astride your left foot. You're still in warrior back foot, but watch this. Turn the right heel up and your hips will even out. Good. Lift the spine so we're in a runner's lunge. And then when you're ready, one strong, skillful step forward to the front of your mat. Yeah. So by doing active end range, we also kind of learn the action that we want to sustain in the pose while we're doing the passive, quote unquote, variant, using our arms in the pose to deepen it. All right, you ready to do the other side? Yeah? Boogie time. So this time, right foot forward. Mountain pose just to connect to our blueprint. So this transition to runner's lunge, this is called skater's lunge here. You just did this last class. Sliding that left foot back as far as you can, landing in runner's lunge. Runner's lunge is kind of our blueprint for our warrior poses and extended side angle. Spiral the heel down. Good. Let's get our shoulders and our hips as even as we can. Good. Let's bring our arms up next to our ears. Good. And then we'll circle the arms and stack the hands. Can you remember which hand was over the other and do the opposite? Good. And so all we're doing is a side hinge here without twisting yet. We're just trying to stack our spine over our right knee. Maybe without even curving the spine sideways, everything just stays long. Connect to the horse, drawing the shoulders down the back, strong left leg. And then the active end range twist is going to happen here. Inhaling to elongate, exhaling to use the abdominals to wrap the left shoulder back, twisting the spine. Inhaling to reinforce elongation, exhaling to reinforce the twist. So we're really spreading this out, but this is what you would do for a breath or two before you go into passive end range. Now, Terry, can you open your right knee out a little bit for me so that it's stacked? Yes, awesome. Anytime I give anyone a cue, yeah, take a look at where you're at. We learn from each other. Good. A couple more breaths here, and then we'll go into passive end range. Inhale to elongate, exhale to twist one more time using integrity. Good. Right arm will go on to the top of the right knee. The extended side angle we all know and love. Left arm will come up next to the left ear. And typically in extended side angle, we're instructed to reach our left fingertips away from the left edge or the edge of our left foot. So left foot and left hand are reaching away from each other. And that's absolutely right. But I do like to add that the spine is spiraling as well, and thusly the rib cage is also spiraling. So the top arm side of the rib cage, in our case right now, our left rib cage is opening and spiraling. The top, the crown of the head is spiraling away from the tailbone and sacrum. Inhale, elongating, exhaling, connecting to our spiral for 1 or 2 more breaths. The left side of our body is like a door, and we're going to close that door and bring our hands onto the mat adjacent to our front foot. That's our right foot. Now I'm tenting my fingers. You could flat hand it, or you can even use the blocks here just for that moment. Horse the back leg. Isometrically pull the feet toward one another on the mat, and that'll lift your spine a little bit. And we'll take one smooth, controlled step forward. Boom, to mountain pose. You're all beautiful. That's so good. All right, so we got to take it to a seat now. And this is going to be a pretty easy process now that we're here. The setup's a lot easier. So if you need a blanket for your Baddha Konasana, which is just a bound angle, you can use a rolled up blanket or a block, or you can use a bolster. I'm just going free. Good. So typically we hold on to the bottom of the feet for Baddha Konasana, don't we? We're going to let go of that, and we're instead going to take our block. Yep. So we know the isometric of trying to open our knees down toward the ground. That'll help us here. We're going to inhale and lengthen the spine and pull on that block just as we've done before. And then we're going to exhale and keep alignment, keep horse and mountain pose in the spine and shoulders and arms. And we're going to hinge forward off of the pelvis. You're going to go to your end range. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, try to hinge forward a little bit more. Here's where really using those deep core muscles connect. We're really using those deep core muscles is of value. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, try to reach that block further along your mat. Slide it further along. Helene, even if it takes you out a little bit, can you draw your shoulders down your back? So open this part more. Yeah, much better. That's great. Even if it takes you out, you're actually going to get deeper faster because you're cueing fascia. Good. Good, Terry. You could probably float that block 1 inch off the mat since it's past your feet. Same thing, everybody. Yeah, keep it close to the mat. And you're imagining it hovering off the mat. So you're not putting your hands on the ground here. One more breath. Inhale to elongate. Exhale to go deeper. And then inhale, come up to a seated Baddha Konasana with the block in front of you. Inhale, reconnect to elongation. Exhale, both sitting bones on your mat. Twist to your right on the exhale. Wrapping the abdominals around the waist. Same rules apply. Inhale, elongate the spine. Root the sitting bones into the ground. Reach the crown of the head up. Exhale, try to twist a little bit more, keeping horse in the arms and shoulders. Feel those abdominal muscles wrap around the waist. Inhale, elongate. Reconnect the horse in the shoulders. It might take you out of the twist. Exhale, twist a little bit more. Inhale to center. Exhale, hands underneath the feet, passive end range. Baddha Konasana. Bound angle pose. Yeah. You could take the ankles, you could take underneath the feet. Tuck the chin, keep the spine long though. So we're still keeping some alignment here. Yeah. Drawing ourselves forward. It's as if you're drawing your sternum past your toes, breathing into the low back, inhaling, feeling the ribs expand and the spine lengthen. Exhaling, using your hands to help your spine hinge forward a little bit more.
So Adam?
Yes.
Would you say that your back is in mountain pose the entire time and you're bending from your hips?
Yes, or even if I were to be, that's a good question, if I were to be super accurate based on our nomenclature, if it's not in a perfect mountain pose, there's a good amount of horse in it. You know, you're trying to get it in mountain pose.
Okay.
So you're coming forward, challenging it, and if you can get it mountain pose straight, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Elongation energy. On your next inhale, good question. On your next inhale, come up, let's take our block. We're gonna twist oppositely now. I do believe it's the left. Inhale to establish or reestablish mountain pose in the spine, root the sitting bones, reach the crown of the head toward the ceiling. Exhale, now wrap the abdominals, these deep abdominals around the waist, and that will carry the shoulder girdle to the left. Only twist so far as you can where the weight is even on your sitting bones. If you start to feel, oh, I'm lifting my weight off of one sitting bone, we've just gone too far for today. Really subtle deepening of the twist here. Inhale to elongate, mountain pose the spine, ground with the G, ground the shoulders. Exhale, twist a little bit more. Rinse, wash, repeat. Really putting emphasis on good straight arms and straight wrists and shoulders down the back, and inhaling to expand the ribs. Exhaling to connect the core to deepen the twist. Rooting the sitting bones. And if you really want to be a devil, you can try to press the soles of the feet actively against each other isometrically while you try to open your knees down toward the ground. That's just an added option. One more inhale to extra lengthen. Exhale to deepen that twist. Inhale to center. Release the block. Twist in your opposite direction, which I believe now is our right. Passive end range. So left hand typically would go on an ankle or a knee. Right hand would go on the ground behind you. And now we're using our arms to twist. And what you'll notice here is that twist goes a lot more into the spinal column and the connective tissue as opposed to the muscle and the fascia, yeah? Can you feel that a lot more? And that twist might even gather in certain parts of your spine more than others, as opposed to being evenly distributed throughout. So can you add some active end range twist patterns in this passive end range twist? And does it enhance it in any way? Oh my goodness. What you did, Helene, with your chin, you made that adjustment like I think 7 seconds ago, 8 seconds ago now, was really good. Can you do that with your ribs now and see what that does? Can you draw the ribs in a little bit more? Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but I'm pretty sure there was some flare going on. So you're thinking about just kind of drawing in without taking it into internal rotation in the shoulders. Good. And then come to center briefly, but slowly. Made no sense. And let's twist to the other direction briefly. Or not briefly, the same amount of time. Good. I have one more thing after this that I really want to get done. And that'll put us on time because I started a little late. So again, this is passive end range. Why? Because we're using our limbs to drive this twist a little bit, but of course it can be informed and enhanced by bringing in passive end range principles that we just applied. Are both sitting bones still rooted on the floor? Are the knees even, maybe? Okay, and then let's inhale and come to center. Bring your feet flat on the ground with your knees bent. You bring your hands behind you and windshield wiper your knees left to right. Yeah, okay, so I think if you've worked with me now, many of you know my favorite pose is mountain pose. It would not be a surprise if you heard me say that. But what you may not know is my second favorite pose. Completely boring because it's basically mountain pose, but it's Dandasana, okay, or staff pose. Why is that your favorite pose? Because it is mountain pose, but sitting on the ground, right? So it's actually a hinge if we were to be kind of strict about the thing, right? So let's cue through this. And what I really just want to finish kind of is we're going to do that same type of pattern. We're going to do active passive end range twist and then just a front bend active passively, okay? Because this approach can be applied to all of our stretching poses. But these are kind of the biggies. These are the ones that we encounter a lot. Let's hold on to our block. And let's put one block between our thighs. Ooh, that's mean. I had to bring my block to the lower angle. You might find that your chest gets in the way, so you might want to do the same. Or between your ankles is also an excellent option as well. All right, let's hold on to our block in front of us, just as we've been doing. Dandasana is mountain pose in the body. So that means the midlines of the feet are parallel and the midlines of the legs are parallel as well. We're horsing our legs. Adam, how much are we horsing our legs? We're horsing our legs so much that maybe our heels are coming off the ground. All right? So we're drawing the kneecaps onto the legs, really working them straight. That's going to help us connect to the core just like we've been doing. We're trying to sit in a 90 degree. We're trying to draw the ribs in and horse the shoulders. And we're holding our arms roughly parallel to the ground. I promise I'm parallel. The camera is just looking down on me. So now from here, we're going to inhale and maybe we can try to bring our arms up next to our ears without dumping into our spine. Right? And what I mean by that is without flaring our ribs or feeling that in our middle back. Good. Can you keep straight elbows? Maybe you can only go this far, keeping true to the alignment. That's fine. I don't want you to go in your deepest. I want you to go in your strongest and most aligned. Inhaling, what are we doing? We're lengthening the limbs. We're lengthening the spine. We're connecting the shoulders to the back. Yeah. Exhaling, we're connecting to the core and drawing just the spine long and straight. We're trying to restack our shoulders over our hips. We're going to do this 1 or 2 more breaths. And then what's a front bend? All a front bend is this, but the spine coming ever more forward. So here's what I want you to think of instead. Sorry about that, Helene. Let's do this together. Let's just bring the arms. You were right, Helene, to bring the arms with the spine. That was a correct approach when you did that. I want to actually just take that part away. And again, you're going to bring the arms to parallel to the floor. So we're back in our Dandasana. Good. Our work now is to try to reach our block past our feet without breaking mountain pose. okay? That's a pretty tall order for most people. So when you inhale, the pattern remains the same. We're elongating the limbs in the spine. When we exhale, we're trying to go a little bit further so that maybe we can get that block a little bit closer to past the toes. If you can do that, then your homework is the same. You just want to keep reaching that block further along the ground. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, connect to the stretch using our integrity. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, connect to the stretch. And our blueprint for the seated forward bend is Dandasana, or mountain pose. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, use integrity. Inhale up to seated position. It's not done yet. Keep horsing the arms and shoulders. Inhale, elongate the spine. Exhale, twist to your right. So that means all we're doing is carrying our sternum to the right. Did you carry a hip with you when you went into that twist? Try not to. Try not to let the hip slide back. I'm just asking this so you can do the checklist. I didn't see anyone do that. How do you keep from carrying the hips into that twist? Squeeze on your block. Keeps you honest, yeah? Inhale to elongate, exhale to twist is the pattern. Inhale to elongate, exhale to twist is the pattern. We're gonna do that for 2 more breaths. And then we're wrapping this pattern up shortly. 1 more breath. Active end range twist from Dandasana. Inhale to center. Put that darn block down for a brief second. Okay, passive end range twist. So you can use your hands on your legs. I'm still making you keep the block. Like this, you could take your ankles, you could take your feet, you could take your big toes, or if you're really feeling froggy, you could try for a bind. It's really tough with the block between the ankles if you can get that far. But this is passive end range. We're using our arms to draw ourselves into this front bend. But again, we can always inject some active end range work, right? How do I bring more Dandasana into this passive end range front bend? Just for a couple breaths. Inhale up to center after 1 breath. We got to twist to the other side before we can wrap it up. Otherwise, you're going to be walking around like this until I see you next time. So this time we're twisting to the left. Block is between the feet. Make sure the midlines of the feet and legs are parallel. Hips are even. Inhaling to elongate. Exhaling to wrap the abdominals around the waist. For our Dandasana with left twist. Horsing the arms and shoulders. Are your heels lifting? Can you get so much of a horse? My feet need to be visible here. That your heels are off the ground. Inhale, elongate, maybe bring yourself forward so you're over your pelvis again. Exhale, twist. Another way of cueing this is you want to do everything you can to keep yourself from cheating or coupling in this. Dandasana. 1 more breath. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, wrap the abdominals. Inhale to center. Release your block. Take a real quick 2 breath, passive end range front bend, fully passive. So that means no active end range injection. Just let gravity bring your torso over your legs. And then from there, if you got to scoot to the front of your mat so you have enough space behind you, do so. I do understand if you've got to skip Shavasana, but if you want to stick around, I offer it. If you do have to go, leave after this. Go back to your Dandasana briefly, And all we're going to do is cat the spine. That's round the spine, connect to the abdominals, and let's just try our best to roll one vertebra at a time down onto the mat as smoothly as possible. To our Shavasana. Excellent. And from there, I will start to just cue you briefly into a quick relaxation. Really beautiful work and concentration, everyone, today. So now we'll just apply that same concentration to the act of unloading. On the inhale, the outward expansion is the same, but on the exhale, try to unload just a little bit more resistance from the body. On the exhale, try to unload just that little bit of tension. On the exhale, work to unload that little bit of nagging stress that may or may not have been following you through the day or the week. Inhaling to expand the inner space of the body. And exhaling to release. And just repeating that pattern. Really working on each exhale. Just allowing that tension or resistance to sublimate. That discord to absorb into the ground beneath you. Maybe imagine like a puddle. As you relax ever more, you spread out along the ground. And from here, let's just slowly start to introduce unloaded movement to the outer spaces of the body. Fingers and toes, the crown of the head, soles of the feet, musculature of the face and eyes. And bend the knees and flatten the feet. Slowly, and just windshield wiper the knees, allowing the hips to move with the knees even, and the spine to twist with the pelvis as you do this. And then just pick your favorite side to roll on. We won't be picky. And stay there for just 1 or 2 breaths and allow yourself to settle in there. We're trying to come out of this as relaxed as we allowed ourselves to be in it. Pressing ourselves out to seated position slowly.